Work with an IUL insider. In this episode, I'm going to address the question, how can I find an agent who is proficient in IUL? That stands for Indexed Universal Life. Get ready. I'm going to show you how you can find somebody who is proficient, somebody who has passed a 130 question exam and viewed countless hours of educational videos so that you can have trust and confidence that they will set one up right for you. So my name's Doug Andrew, and I've actually helped many people optimize their financial assets and minimize taxes, prepare for a comfortable retirement and not outlive their money, eliminate the dangers of taxes, inflation, and market volatility now for more than 48 years. But back in 2001 to 2003, I was very blessed to have my first book, which I self-published, by the way. It's called Missed Fortune, because of the fortunes people miss out on when they simply don't know what they don't know. I self-published it, and I started going through 5,000 copies a month. Long story short, it got the attention of Time Warner, who became my publisher, and they commissioned me to write several more books. Now, as of the date of this episode, I have authored 12 books. Now, what I want to do is empower you by educating you with this episode, but also stay with me to the end, because I want to gift you a copy of my most recent best-selling book called The Laser Fund, a 300-page educational book. Now, if you're watching this episode as a consumer, this is for you. But if you're watching it as a professional, an insurance professional, or a financial advisor, this episode is also for you. Get ready, because this is like a two-prong approach to answering this question: how can I find an agent who is proficient in implementing an IUL properly? And so I mentioned at the very beginning, you want to work with an IUL insider. This is actually a group, a consortium, that we have put together, a coalition of like-minded, highly ethical advisors who adhere to a code of ethics, and they have to pass a proficiency exam that I have created and tweaked, and they have to watch a series of 21 videos right off the bat to be able to pass that exam of 130 questions. And then they go into more advanced training. So let me explain a little bit about this and what it means for you, whether you're a consumer or you're actually a professional advisor. So years ago, I had over 3,000 financial advisors, CPAs, tax attorneys come through and pay $6,000 in tuition to attend a 3-day intensive, what we called a clarity experience. This was teaching them how to take their practice to a whole new level. We also had real estate professionals in there, many other types of financial advisors who wanted to learn how to optimize assets and minimize taxes. Well, after doing this from 2003 to 2007, I thought, okay, this is a way that I was able to then create like a force that could go out there and reach far more people than I could reach by myself, because I was sort of a one-man band up until the turn of the century, helping many clients, and I was beginning to write books, but I wanted to influence the world by teaching a lot of advisors, selling my recipe instead of just selling the cake, so to speak, make my competitors my customers. And actually, I was blessed to do that with over 3,000 advisors who paid $6,000 in tuition. But then what happened in 2008? As Warren Buffett put it, he said, in 2008, when the tide went out, so to speak, it revealed who was swimming naked. In other words, people were not protected from the market volatility. And it was the second time in a decade that many Americans lost 40%. For the second time. The first time was 2001 to 2003 after the 9/11 terrorist attacks. And it took 4 years for them to make back what they lost. And then in one single year, 2008, they lost 40% again. It took 4 more years until 2012 to come back to break even. During that 12-year period, many of our clients, using properly structured, maximum funded, properly funded, indexed universal life insurance policies, And if it's properly structured and maximum funded the right way, it's what I call a laser fund. It qualifies to be a laser fund. Now, laser is an acronym that stands for liquid assets safely earning returns. To be able to earn a rate of return, let's say of 11 and netting 10. Because for many, many years, many people who set up these, they might earn 11 and net 10. If they earn 16, they net 15. If they earn 9, they net 8. If they earn 61, they net 60. And people say, 60? Yeah. As of the recording of this episode, this year, 2021, we've had many people get credited 61.33% tax-free. We had a client with $870,000 that a year later, from March of 2020 to March of 2021, that grew by over $500,000, a 61.33% increase in one single year, tax-free. This is indexed universal life. And so people go, wow, well, I've never seen one do that. Well, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist just because you haven't seen one. And so then they want to see how you can do it correctly. And unfortunately, I have numerous stories of people who did not have one set up correctly. They bought it from a relative, a brother-in-law or nephew or somebody who had an insurance license, and they ended up losing a ton of money because it was not set up correctly or funded properly. They didn't know what they were doing. So that's what motivated me to create a group. Now, clear back in 2008, I wanted to separate the sheep from the goat, so to speak. And so Time Warner, which is my publisher, estimated that there were over 50,000 financial advisors using my books. They were buying them in bulk on Amazon, passing them out like loose cannons, and they didn't even know what they were doing. And I wanted to separate the sheep from the goat, so I created a proficiency exam, 100-question, multiple choice, true and false, and 30 essay. I administered that exam. It's not an easy exam. I'm here to tell you right now, most financial planners that you see on CNBC wouldn't even score 30% because they're not taught in these areas. Well, I thought the 3,000 I trained over the several previous years would pass it. Only about 200 out of 3,000 did, because if you don't use it, you lose it. And that's when I decided, you know what? I've got to make sure that anytime I point any of my students, because I let all my licenses go clear back in 2005 to become a consumer advocate and author books and get on the radio. And so I teach people, the true principles, and then I point them, and they can govern themselves by going to the advisors that I know understand it. And that's why when I write books, I put in here criteria that you should look for, questions you should ask an advisor. And if they can't answer those questions off the cuff, that's a red flag. I reinstated a group, a consortium, a coalition where professionals can come through and prove by passing this proficiency exam and watching hours and hours of educational videos. In the basic training, 21 videos, and then another 10 videos, and then weekly, I spend an hour mentoring, and then my sons do another hour each week, and this is a group called IUL Insiders. Those who are on the inside knowing the latest and the greatest, how to structure them correctly, and what to do for you. And so when people say, how can I find somebody who's proficient? Well, first of all, I would want to know who has passed that proficiency exam. I can tell you who. I want somebody who is actively involved and does this day in and day out, not somebody who just does one or two of these a year. Okay? This is their livelihood. My sons, for example, they do this 24/7. This is all they eat, drink, and do. I mean, this is what their entire profession is centered around. And so IUL Insiders is a group of people that promise to adhere to a code of ethics, and they have to prove that they understand this, and we oversee and actually watch them and help them create case after case after case to make sure it's done right, so that they are truly looking out for your best interest. So how can you find out, and how can you take advantage of this, whether you're a consumer or if you are a professional financial advisor and you want to be part of this group? Here's how. Now, if this is intriguing you and you want to learn more, I would strongly recommend that you subscribe to this channel. I have numerous educational videos about these topics. And if you're an advisor, I would also recommend that you watch many of the episodes and check out the IUL Insiders, and also claim your free copy of this book, laserfund.com. But subscribe to the channel. It's free. Click the little bell, because then you'll be notified every time I post an in-depth answer to a question, which I do almost on a daily basis. Here's what I would recommend. If you are a member of the consuming public and you're saying, golly, how can I find an agent who is proficient? Well, when you claim your free copy of this book, I'm going to show you how in a moment, you will be entered into our database, and you'll be notified every time we teach an educational webinar on specific topics. And as you begin to learn, you'll have opportunities to then talk to one of the top IUL specialists in America. And these are the ones that I've screened, that I've gone through, and I trust they understand how to do it correctly. And I've overseen them, and this has involved hours and hours of training. Now, if you are a professional, and you realize you're not up to snuff, or you would like to be a professional, then I would also recommend you start out by getting your copy of the Laser Fund book, but that you also check out how and when to belong to IUL Insiders. It's not a cost, it's an investment. And then you can see why we point people to those who have passed a proficiency exam, and they've proven that they know how to do it. And that they also have sort of pledged to adhere to a strict code of ethics to make sure it's being done correctly. Does that make sense? Okay. So how do you go about empowering yourself, whether you're a consumer or an advisor? Well, first of all, this is a 300-page book, and it's actually 2 books in one. This white covered side is about 200 pages, comprised of 14 chapters, which have all the charts, graphs, and explanations. And there's a chapter in here that has 14 questions that you can ask an advisor, or if you are an advisor, it's 14 questions you better know the answers to right off the cuff, or else people aren't going to trust you that you know what you're doing. Now, if you're a right brain learner, you learn more by stories and examples. You flip the book over to this side, the orange side, and this is about 100 pages, 12 chapters with 62 actual client stories of how the Laser Fund is like this financial Swiss Army knife that can be the dream solution for all kinds of financial goals, not just retirement, but college funding for children and grandchildren. This knocks the socks off of a 529 plan. Also working capital for business, real estate equity management. If you're using it for an emergency fund or for estate planning, it just has so many applications as a dream solution that passes the liquidity, safety, and rate of return test, but only if it's structured correctly and funded properly. So you claim your free copy of this book by going to LaserFund, L-A-S-E-R, fund.com. Click on the link below. Contribute a nominal amount towards the shipping and handling. I'll cover the rest of that cost, and I'll pay for the book. I'll fire it out, but there's options there to listen and learn, watch and learn. There's an 18-hour masterclass if you want to do a deep dive. But also, if you're an advisor, I would strongly recommend you go to IUL Insider Pro, IULinsiderpro.com. Click on the link below. And join us for the next webinar. We only hold about one a month that talks about IUL Insiders. We only allow a certain amount to come into the group on a monthly basis. And this will allow you to be able to go through and get trained and become proficient so that you can answer the questions that some of your prospects are going to read in here, and you're not going to be embarrassed. So that's how you can find somebody who's proficient. And that's why I said at the very beginning, well, work with an IUL insider. Be part of that inside group that know how to do this correctly and help you fund it properly so that it will knock the socks off of any other financial instrument that you may be introduced to when you understand the power behind putting money aside, having it accumulate tax-free, accessing the money tax-free, and never outliving your money by following the proper formulas.